Now, Breitbart is in a little bit of trouble. And look, I realize this segment is probably going to come off a little bit ha-ha. But I actually want to go through, and I want to try not to make it ha-ha, but actually an analysis of what works in media and what might not work in media in the state of the alt-right. All right. Now, Politico is reporting that Breitbart, the alt-right news site, whose chairman, Steve Bannon, was pushed out in January after feuding with President Donald Trump, has lost about half of its readership, according to comScore, raising questions about its future. So let me give you the numbers, and they are quite a bit disastrous, and then I'm going to go through and get some possible explanations of what the hell is going on. Now, according to comScore, the site dropped from 15 million unique visitors in October to 13.7 million in November, 9.9 million in December, 8.5 million in January, and 7.8 million in February, and of course the numbers continue to drop. Its comScore figure for January was down 51% from the same month a year earlier, and the February number was down 49% from 2017. Last month was the site's least trafficked since February of 2015, 4 months before Donald Trump declared his candidacy for president. So those are disastrous numbers. Now, again, Breitbart hitched itself to Donald Trump, rose with Donald Trump, and now has fallen with Steve Bannon. Now, to be fair, some of that drop is to be expected. I mean, look, during the election, during the primary, our numbers were fantastic. And we were getting somewhere around 1.5 to 1.7 million views per month. That's pretty good for me. Obviously not huge, not great when it comes to the YouTube landscape. I'm keeping it 100% real, and I wish it was, 3 times bigger. Since the election, we've dropped a bit. Now we're steady around 1 million. Nonetheless, right? When it's not a presidential election, your numbers, if you're a news outlet, tend to fall. Totally understand that. People do tune out. People get back to their normal lives. In the case of Breitbart, a lot of people are like, mission accomplished. We got Trump elected. He's going to MAGA, and then I can go back to watching TV. I can go back and sit on the couch and drink a couple beers. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, that is a fantastic plan. Nonetheless, there are other reasons as well. And this, of course, goes into the politics of the of viewership, right? Now, Politico notes that aside from the politics, you also have changes to Facebook's newsfeed algorithm. Well, that's hit all of us. Also, more investment by Fox News, and to go into the politics of it, Steve Bannon. And Steve Bannon is obviously, I think, a huge, huge reason. Okay. Now, Bannon, they explained, was once Trump's campaign chairman, White House strategist, and closest ally. He is no longer. Bannon left the administration in August and returned to Breitbart, only to be forced out by the site's board after he criticized Trump and his family in Michael Wolff's book, Fire and Fury. You remember that? That was only a couple of months ago, and that book already feels like it was written back in 2015. It's insane. Now, again, so Bannon was behind the rise in Breitbart. He took over after Andrew Breitbart and hitched his wagon to Donald Trump, and then, of course, rose, and then had an unceremonious fall. It was great. Now, they said without its driving force, Breitbart has struggled to find a clear identity, and after a significantly diminished presence at this year's CPAC conference, there is a growing sense that its influence is on the wane. So, look, to me, I think this is fairly obvious. Bannon was Breitbart. Breitbart was Steve Bannon. That was his entire identity. Like, yeah, I'm like, this is the magazine, or this is the publication of Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, he's so powerful. He's in the White House. He's growing. I mean, he's diving more into politics. He's going in, and he's going to fund new candidates. And watch out for Bannon. Watch out for Bannon. He was a big deal. And then suddenly he's no longer a big deal. In fact, he's essentially dropped off the face of the earth. So, and since he dropped off the face of the earth, it would make sense that his publication, or formerly his publication, dropped off the face of the earth as well. So, but look, during their rise, for all the things Bannon was, he succeeded at turning Breitbart into the home of the alt-right. And that was wildly effective during the election, during the campaign. Now, but this is just bigger, I think, than Breitbart, this entire thing that's falling apart. I've been reading a lot of stories of the alt-right also fracturing, also falling apart, also fighting amongst each other. So, not only that, but they seem to not be doing very well against Antifa. I think one of the recent stories is that Richard Spencer, he's kind of given up. He's like, yeah, Antifa has actually won. They've beaten us. I'm not going to go and try and do any more speeches at these colleges. And look, by the way, if you want to speak at a college, I don't really give a shit. I know the right all thinks, oh my God, all these liberal snowflakes, they don't want to hear our opinions. Well, number one, your opinions are shit. But number two, you have the right to have shitty opinions. And I think it's fine for you to go and speak at the colleges. People don't have to hear you. And I think actually the best thing is, oh, you want to go and speak at the college? Okay, well, let's bring in our own counter speaker, and let's all go to that event and have Richard Spencer sit there with 2 people in the audience. That'd be awesome. And then have somebody film it, take pictures, and then be like, ha ha, Richard Spencer, you are deeply, deeply unpopular. Because that's the way to crush their movement. That's the real way to crush their movement. But anyway, now, look, as far as what would have happened with Bannon, there's a good chance that this would have happened anyway had he not been kicked out of Breitbart. But I don't know. I do think that him getting kicked out of the White House was the first nail in the coffin. Now, they read as Bannon's star rose along with Trump, Breitbart benefited, said its former spokesman Kurt Bardella. Quote, at one point, Breitbart was considered must-read status because it was thought of as one of the only places to get a window into what the president was thinking. So, hey, if you want to know what Donald Trump's thinking, read an episode or read a article from Breitbart. Because that's what, when Steve Bannon was there, that's what he would put on the desk before John Kelly. He'd be like, hey, Trump, read this. You and we're the same mind on this one. I think you'd really like this article. When really Donald Trump isn't of any mind. He has no ideology. He's an idiot, and he barely reads. Nonetheless, if you think that reading Breitbart gets you into the mind of the president, okay then. That's what a lot of conservatives thought. All right. But now, Bardella continues, with Bannon exiled from both the site and Trump's orbit, that's no longer the case. You know who's taken over? This shouldn't be a surprise. It's Fox News. Fox News has supplanted Breitbart as having the banner. And look, there's more research here, right? This is Rob Ferris, research director at Harvard's Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society. He said that Breitbart's rise was in some way facilitated by Fox News being very slow to embrace Donald Trump. Yeah, I remember that time. I remember when they were like, oh, I don't know about Trump. We should go for the more winnable establishment Republican, or maybe like your Ted Cruz or something like that. Anybody but Trump. Anybody but Trump. He used to be a New York liberal. Do you remember that? Yeah, we know. But he was the same kind of con man all along. But for a while, for a long time during the primary, until Donald Trump started winning, Fox News was not behind them. And then slowly, they got on the Trump train. Now, Ferris says, quote, a big part of Breitbart's success was that there was such a niche to be filled that Fox News was not able to fill at that point. But now, with Fox's primetime hosts having fully embraced the president, the importance of Breitbart is diminished. And he says finally, quote, Fox News is the gorilla in the room. Look, and this gorilla is shameless in their propaganda that supports the president. Now, there's more problems when it comes to Breitbart, other than being taken over by Fox News, of course, when it comes to servicing the president and being read by the president's supporters. You also have money problems. Every company needs to make money, and guess what? Even what I do requires money. It requires me to make some money from advertisers. Now, for Breitbart, there was a boycott on their advertisers. In fact, its number of direct advertisers since the boycott had come into effect has been slashed from around 250 at the beginning of 2017 to just 17 now, according to the advertising consulting firm Media Radar. That is a massive hit. Now, does that mean Breitbart is done? Well, look, if you were any normal company, well, then sure. I mean, they would be done. But you also have to look at a lot of the media companies on the right and where they get their funding. It is not organic. Most likely, they've got a billionaire that is backing them. And in the case of Breitbart, that's 100% true. Now, The Blaze, that's Glenn Beck's, of course, business. They weren't so lucky. I don't think they have any billionaire backers behind them. And that's why, of course, they've been literally on fire for like the past year. They had to lay off most of their staff, and you haven't really heard much from them as of late. But Breitbart does have a wealthy backer. They have a wealthy donor. That's Rebecca Mercer, the Mercer family. Now, the Mercers, they also own Cambridge Analytica, which is in a little bit of trouble right now if you're caught up on some of the recent news about them. But right now, they've got that billionaire money. And as long as they have that billionaire money, they don't need no stinking advertisers. They don't need to make a profit. No, they could take a loss. And they can operate on a loss because they've still got that sugar daddy money. So, look, they'll survive. As long as they got that money, even if they have no ads and down to 10 readers, which is certainly something that I could see happening. But as far as Breitbart being on the outs, again, they're going back to where they were, back to the fringes. So, and look, that's where they belong. And this time, I hope they stay there. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.